I thought I knew who I was. Jessica Thompson. Marketing manager. Runner of half marathons. Daughter of William and Nancy Thompson. Just another 30-something in Portland, muddling through flu season with a sinus infection and a strong craving for soup. But that illusion shattered one rainy Tuesday afternoon. I was standing in line at a Walgreens, head pounding, waiting for my prescription, when an older woman in front of me turned around. She stared at me like she'd seen a ghost, face drained of color, hands trembling, eyes wide with disbelief. "You look just like my sister," she whispered. I gave her a polite smile. People say that sometimes I have a familiar face, apparently. Generic. The kind of face that makes people ask if we went to high school together. I expected her to chuckle and turn away. She didn't. Instead, her eyes filled with tears. "She went missing 25 years ago." I froze. Something in her voice, raw, fragile, haunted, cut through me like glass. My smile faltered. "I'm sorry to hear that," I offered gently. "What was her name?" She just stared, lips trembling. Then she said something that made my knees buckle. "Your name." My grip loosened. The prescription bottle slipped from my fingers, hit the linoleum floor, and spilled open. White pills scattered under the candy displays and across the woman's sensible brown shoes. Neither of us moved. "My name?" I echoed. "Rachel," she said softly. "Rachel Marie Anderson." I blinked. "My middle name is Rachel. Jessica Rachel Thompson. My parents said I was named after my grandmother. A woman I never met. They told me she died before I was born. But suddenly, that story didn't feel so solid. The woman stepped closer. I saw every wrinkle etched by years of grief. Her voice cracked as she said, "You have her eyes. Green, with gold flecks. And that scar above your eyebrow." My hand moved involuntarily to the tiny scar on my right temple. I got it falling off my bike when I was 7. My dad rushed me to the ER, and my mom held my hand while they stitched me up. I remembered it vividly. Or did I? "How old are you?" she asked. 32. She'd be 32, she whispered. Then, she had a birthmark on her left shoulder. Crescent moon shape. I couldn't breathe. The lights above buzzed louder. The walls felt too close. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I wanted to say she was wrong. I wanted to laugh it off. But I couldn't, because I do have a crescent moon-shaped birthmark on my left shoulder. My college boyfriend used to kiss it and call it my lucky charm. The woman reached into her purse with trembling fingers and pulled out a worn photograph. She handed it to me without a word. It was a little girl, maybe 6 years old, grinning wide with 2 front teeth missing. She had my nose, my chin, my eyes, and the pink dress she wore. I could swear I remembered owning it. "I have to go," I whispered, backing away. "I'm sorry. I have to go." And then I ran. Out of the pharmacy. Out into the cold rain. I didn't stop until I was inside my car, hands shaking against the steering wheel. The rain slammed against the windshield. I sat there motionless, haunted, broken open. How could this be true? But truth doesn't ask permission to ruin your life. It doesn't knock softly or wait for you to be ready. Sometimes it slams into you on an ordinary Tuesday, while you're sick and vulnerable, standing in line at a pharmacy. Sometimes, truth sounds like your name, spoken by someone who's been searching for you for 25 years. I told myself it wasn't real. That this woman was mistaken. Confused. Grieving. But deep inside, something had cracked. Jessica Thompson, or Rachel Marie Anderson. The name I'd carried my whole life suddenly felt like a costume stitched from someone else's tragedy. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't go back for my prescription. I sat on my couch, laptop open, searching every name I could remember. Rachel Anderson, Portland disappearances, child abduction cases. And I found it. Rachel Marie Anderson. Missing since 1993. Last seen in a park with her parents. The case went cold. The parents, both under suspicion, moved away shortly after. No charges. No leads. My parents. William and Nancy Thompson. They adopted me when I was 7. But there was no adoption certificate I could find. No foster record. Just a mysterious cross-country move, and a little girl with a scar and a birthmark and no past before age 7. I confronted them. I needed the truth. But what I got was worse than denial. It was panic. My mother sobbed. My father said, "We saved you. She was a mess, your real mother. Unfit. We gave you a better life." No remorse. No regret. Just twisted justification. They stole me. They lied for 25 years. And the woman in Walgreens? Her name was Emily. She was my sister. The one who never stopped looking. She'd spent her entire adult life chasing rumors, reading case files, posting in online forums. She had followed 1,000 wrong leads until she saw me. Now I know who I am. I'm Rachel. And I'm taking my life back. They built their world on my disappearance. They lived a lie while another family suffered. But not anymore. I've pressed charges. I've hired lawyers. The DNA test confirmed it all. And soon, my so-called parents will finally face what they did. This isn't just my story. This is justice, 25 years in the making. And revenge has never felt so right. The legal process was brutal. The media caught wind of the story, and suddenly my face, Rachel's face, was everywhere. Headlines read, "Stolen child found after 25 years. Portland woman discovers her identity was a lie. Parents arrested in cold case breakthrough." I never wanted the attention. I wasn't trying to become a symbol. I just wanted my truth. But justice doesn't happen quietly, not when it's this big, this horrifying. Nancy and William, no, Janice and Martin Laird, as it turned out, were taken into custody. They had changed their names after moving across the country. Fabricated adoption papers. Lied to neighbors. Lied to me. Built an entire life out of someone else's pain. Their lawyers tried to spin it. They loved her like their own. They gave her a stable home. She was too young to remember. But love doesn't come with lies. Stability doesn't erase a stolen childhood. And memory loss doesn't justify kidnapping. The trial was long. Gut-wrenching. Emily testified. She described the night I disappeared. How she held my hand in the park while our mom fumbled for car keys. How she turned away for a second, and I was gone. How the family fell apart afterward. How our mother never forgave herself. Our mother died 2 years later. Grief eats fast when it's guilt-wrapped. Emily's voice cracked when she said it. My sister disappeared. My childhood ended. And the people who took her got to be a family, while mine crumbled into dust. I was next. Standing in court. Facing the people I'd called mom and dad for 25 years. My voice shook. My body felt like it didn't belong to me. "You made me believe I was loved," I told them. "You made me believe I was yours. And maybe you did love me. But that doesn't make what you did any less monstrous." The courtroom was silent. "You didn't save me. You stole me. And you lied every day of my life. You stole my sister. You stole my mother's last years. You stole me and dressed it up like a blessing." The judge sentenced them both to federal prison. Years, not enough, but symbolic. Enough to say, you don't get to keep what you stole. Not anymore. After the sentencing, I walked out of that courtroom not as Jessica Thompson, the marketing manager with sinus issues, but as Rachel Marie Anderson, a woman with scars, yes, but finally, a name that was mine. Emily and I sat in silence afterward. The kind of silence that isn't empty, it's full. Full of pain. Full of space. Full of the life we could have had, and the one we were about to start. We've been rebuilding slowly. I moved into a small apartment near hers. She shows me old photo albums, tells me about our mom's laugh, the way I used to insist on wearing purple socks with everything, how I once tried to adopt a raccoon. Sometimes I remember things. Flashes. Her voice. Our mom's perfume. The park bench. The way the world used to feel. And sometimes I don't. There are gaps no amount of storytelling can fill. But we're trying. That's enough. As for the people who raised me, I've let go of the hatred. But I will never forget. Because forgetting would mean letting them win. They tried to erase a life. But the truth has a strange way of surviving, hiding in freckles, scars, a crescent moon birthmark, and the eyes of a stranger in a pharmacy. That rainy Tuesday shattered my illusion, but it gave me something better. It gave me back to myself. And now? Now I live like someone who knows who she is. Because this isn't just a story of pain. It's a story of return. A story of justice. A story of revenge delivered with quiet power, the kind that doesn't scream, doesn't fight, doesn't burn bridges. It simply walks away from the ashes and starts over, whole. In the months that followed, I became two people. Jessica, still showing up on bills, emails, old friends who hadn't heard the news yet. And Rachel, emerging slowly from beneath the rubble, like a name I was learning to wear again. Some days I felt like a fraud. Other days, I felt reborn. There were practical things to handle. A new social security number. Therapy sessions funded by the state's Victim Assistance Program. Apologies from institutions that once called Janice and Martin model parents. Apologies that came too late, wrapped in polite legal language, stripped of sincerity. But the emotional reckoning ran deeper. My memories were like puzzle pieces scattered across two lives, snapshots from family vacations that might have been staged, bike rides and bedtime stories told by people who had stolen me, all layered over by a second life I could only access through Emily's voice and an ache in my chest I'd carried since I was a child. That ache made more sense now. For years I'd struggled with a nameless emptiness, an unexplainable grief, the sense that something was always missing. I never knew why. I just called it anxiety. My therapists called it rootless identity. But now I had roots. Twisted, broken ones, but real. Emily was patient. She didn't push. She offered space, warmth, photographs. One day she brought me our mother's old music box. It still played, though the tune was warped. I didn't recognize the melody, but when I held it, I cried so hard I shook. Grief for a mother I'd forgotten. Grief for a life stolen. But also gratitude. For truth. For reunion. For the second chance to know who I really was, not just through stories, but through choice. I started visiting Rachel's old neighborhood. The park where I disappeared. The street where we'd lived. An elderly woman from across the street recognized me. Her eyes welled with tears. "You were the little one with the red backpack," she whispered. "The one who always picked dandelions." I nodded, even though I didn't remember the backpack. Or the dandelions. But I remembered the feeling. The soft tug in my heart, this is where I belong. One spring morning, Emily and I visited our mother's grave. I stood there in silence for a long time, hands tucked in my coat, heart too full to speak. Then I whispered the words that had sat in my chest since that Tuesday in the pharmacy. "I'm sorry it took me so long." Emily squeezed my hand. "She knew you'd come back," she said softly. "She just didn't live long enough to see it." I placed the music box on the headstone. Let it play its crooked tune into the wind. It sounded like memory. Like healing. Like home. People ask me now if I've forgiven the Lairds. The answer is complicated. Forgiveness isn't a gift I give for free. It isn't a door I open without being asked. And they've never asked, not really. They sent one letter each from prison. His was cold. Hers was weepy. Neither of them truly took responsibility. So no. I haven't forgiven them. But I've released them. They don't own me anymore. They don't get to haunt my dreams. They don't get to define my beginning or taint my future. Their story stopped mattering the moment I walked away from that courtroom. This new chapter? It's mine. I've reclaimed my name. I've reclaimed my voice. And I've reclaimed every quiet part of me that was told to forget, to stay silent, to pretend. I don't pretend anymore. Because revenge isn't always loud. It isn't always a confrontation, or a courtroom scene, or a public shaming. Sometimes revenge is this. A woman stepping into her real name. A sister reunited. A life once stolen, finally returned. And this time, no one's taking it away.